Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I wanted to shoot a garden tour today. I went back and watched our garden tour from 3 weeks ago and so much has changed. You don't want to miss it. There's so much going on right now. We're in the middle of spring and it's already starting to get closer and closer to summer. Today is May 13th. We're in Nashville, Garden Zone 7A, and sit back, relax, and let's check out the garden. All right, the first thing that you can notice is that it's coming together compared to the last video. You know, everything was destroyed from the patio installation, which I wanted to put right in the middle of the garden so I could sit out amongst it. And yeah, so we've done a lot of stuff. The first thing that you're gonna really notice here that's changed is we have mulched around our beds, on our walking paths here. This is hardwood bark mulch from Lowe's. It was upon further research, it was the closest thing I could find to an organic mulch without having it delivered by truckload, which I just don't have the capability to do right now. So I bought that in bags and surrounded the beds, and it has helped immensely. You can see there's still a little bit of growth and stuff happening, but it's so much more manageable. Now underneath that, I put down weed fabric around the edges of the bed, and I'm gonna post a video about that soon, about how I did that, so y'all can see that. But yeah, so this is what the garden's looking like right now. I'm gonna go ahead and start walking through plants so we don't run too long. These plants right here were planted by my wife. This is a little marigold, an African marigold. It's getting ready to bloom, you can see there. Here on the end, you have a brandywine tomato, and you have a Finley heirloom tomato and a red cherry tomato. And here is a Genovese basil and Italian large leaf basil. If you're new to our channel, we do grow in no dig beds. This was all yard and weeds and everything, and we laid down cardboard in these beds. Before anything, we laid down cardboard and we overlapped it, and then we covered it with mushroom compost, and that sat over the winter, and then we started growing in it in early spring. So these are all no dig beds. There's been no tilling of any kind. So let's get back into this. You can see the tomato trellising method we're using. We've talked about that. There's a previous video. I'll put it in the comments. You can check that video about how we trellis, and the string that we use, which is an elastic style string. It allows for the plant to give a little bit, but still lets it train up that stake. It doesn't choke the plant off or cut off circulation. So here are those little red acre cabbages from the last video. You can see in 3 weeks, they have just exploded. They're beautiful plants. I can't wait. I hope we get a harvest out of them. They might've been planted just a little bit too late. And the star of the show, the cut and come again lettuce bed, man. This thing exploded. 3 weeks growth. It's insane how much lettuce is in there. And then our transplanted lettuce needs to come out. I've been harvesting off of this here and there, just making salads and stuff. But you can see here some of the romaine on the end is starting to wilt and die. And some of that stuff in there is getting choked out because it didn't harvest it well enough. But yeah, that's gonna come out. And then as the weather warms up, we'll plant some warm weather vegetables there. I'm thinking okra will go there. Again, here is the carrot bed, and on this end you have these are Chantani red core carrots, all the way up to this big row right here. And there's some other varieties kind of scattered in there, some rainbow blend, some scarlet nantes, and one other blend that I can't come up with right now. But you can see here some seedlings coming up. These are cherry radishes, red cherry radishes, which I succession sowed some of these so that we can have a continuous harvest. They grow so easy, and upon further research, they actually grow really well with carrots. You wouldn't want to do it in the bed every single time because root crops take a lot of the phosphorus out of the soil. So that is what we did there. And we have not come back and sowed more carrots yet. I'm kind of hesitant to do so. I think it's going to be a little late in the season for that. I'm afraid they're going to get a little bit too hot, but we might, we'll see. And you can see here in this carrot bed, we have also sowed some French breakfast radishes that are in there, just to have another harvest of those. And then the onions have exploded. So again, here we have, last time I called them special bunching onions, but the SP stands for Southport bunching onions. and been harvesting off those already, been using those in our cooking and stuff in the kitchen. These 2 rows right here that are super unruly are yellow Spanish sweet onions. No, sorry, white Spanish sweet onions. And then these 3 rows are yellow sweet Spanish onions. Now I've already thinned these. I wanted to talk about this because I didn't cover it in the last video. The method we use to plant this is called bunching. And so we're planting them really densely together. And then what you do is, after they've been those little tiny seedlings and they've all grown up and you've got 9 or 10 in one spot, is you go back in and you thin them out as their leaves get bigger, about this size really. So I'm going to give you an example here. As they start to really get thicker, you want to go ahead and thin them down to 3 or 4 plants per bunch. And what that's going to do is that's going to give you 3 or 4, maybe 5 medium-sized onions, as opposed to just one big onion in that space. Overall, they say it gives a bigger harvest. I'll be the judge of that, assuming that these grow. The biggest one we have right now is this guy right here. He's coming up nicely, pretty thick. You can see where he's at. See where he's at in a couple weeks. But again, those have been thinned, those 3 rows. These have not. And we move down through the bed here. You can still see that this part is still destroyed from the construction. I haven't got around to fixing it yet, because this is where the peppers are going to go. We've had a bunch of cold nights, and it's just not time to put those peppers in yet. They say that if you have peppers outside in under 50-degree weather for longer than a 3-day period, it can potentially stunt their growth entirely. So I've decided to hold off on planting those, but this will be the pepper bed. And we might put some pole beans in there as well down towards the end and kind of angle them out. But that's what we're thinking there. Down here on the corner, you have another marigold. I can't tell you the variety off the top of my head, but I think it's also an African violet, or not African violet, but an African marigold. And then we start getting into the tomatoes. So these are the tomatoes that were planted a couple weeks ago in the tomato trellising video. And here on the end, you have, let's see if I can get this right off the top of my head. This is the Finley River Heirloom tomato, the standard leaf Brandywine red tomato, the potato leaf Brandywine red tomato, another Finley Heirloom, a San Marzano plum, a Roma, another San Marzano plum, and then 2 red cherries on the end. And in between, you're gonna see all these basils planted. I intercropped all my basil out here. I just figured, you know, they go well with tomatoes. And there's a bunch of things about that in my last video about how to use organic fertilizer when planting in a no-dig bed, and when you should and when you shouldn't. And we're running a little test. I'll show you a little bit of an update on that. But here you have, in every other spot, you have Italian large leaf and then Genovese, Italian large leaf, Genovese, and all the way down. So let's come around here and get a better look at what's going on. So this is the test that we are running currently. Right here, this sweet basil and Genovese basil and this Italian large leaf were planted using an organic fertilizer in the hole at the proper numbers. And you can see that it's pretty green, it's doing well, and same with this guy. And then these 2 guys were planted at the exact same time, exact same conditions, no fertilizer, and they look to be a little less green. Not a ton, but a little bit. And so we will see how those turn out at the end of the season, but that's just an update on the test. Over here, we have 2 different kinds of radishes. These are French breakfast radishes, and they are coming in. You can actually see, if I pull this back a little bit, you can see the tops of them. And these are red cherry radishes. Again, you see the tops of them if you look in there. And then these are Detroit red beets. They're coming along nicely. Some of these smaller ones are ones that I thinned and I pulled really, really gently, and I placed them in, and they look to be putting on new growth. So it looks like they might have taken and they're doing well, but these middle ones seem to be a little bit farther along because they didn't suffer any transplant shock. So that's what's going on in that bed. And then over here, we have our trellising bed, and in here we have spinach, which we've been harvesting as cut and come again. It's been good, and I gotta say, it's probably my favorite green in the garden. I don't love spinach in like a bagged spinach mix, but this really curly stuff just has a really cool flavor to it. and it's really great. And then here behind it, you have your sugar snap peas. We had our first pea start to develop just 2 days ago. It's right there. You can see there's flowers coming on, but just a little guy right there. He's not quite ready. They finally took to training up this cattle panel. It took them a while. There's a couple plants that are still suffering, not making it very well. And then this plant on the end, I thought this was crazy. When they were mowing the other day, a little tiny stick got shot out of the mower and through this plant stem. So I think it's not gonna make it, but it is flowering and it's continuing to make some progress. So I'm not entirely sure. We'll see. It probably just needs to get pulled. But we have a couple of those tall growing plants here. Here in front of the early frosty piece, we have 7 top turnip greens, which are just grown for the greens, not the turnip. And so these are actually getting ready to get partially harvested today to have some greens with dinner. I'm excited about that. I've never had my own greens. I've also never cooked greens at home, but I figured this is a good opportunity because these guys need more sunshine and these are blocking them out. But you can see, regardless, we are getting some peas on here. And if you look against the sun, you can see the peas developing in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in that one pod. And there's a few of them on there. And they're coming up nicely. I hope that as soon as they get a little more sun after these are removed, that they'll start to just explode up this, but it might be a little late in this season. I'm not sure. So here we are with our Boston pickling cucumbers coming along nicely. And they are getting ready to start getting trained up the fence here. And then here on the end, we have one lone cilantro and a little bit of dill and some weeds, like usual. So that's the garden. There we go. Okay, as we conclude the video and the dogs stop barking, I want to go ahead and just show you guys the whole big picture one more time and talk about some future content. And again, the dogs keep barking. I can't change that. But so yeah, you can see these 16-inch planters here. They are from Lowe's. They were affordable. We're getting ready to put some wooden 2x2x8, 2-inch by 2-inch by 8-foot poles in those to run string lights around, make a sitting area. We also just got our fire pit here, and also got some plants left over that really need to get going, either in the ground or they need to be given away to somebody to grow. And I've got some family coming into town next week that are going to take some back to Missouri with them. But yeah, I'll be showing you guys in a next video how I'm going to fill these planters and how I'm going to put the light poles in them and how to do that affordably and what that looks like, making a DIY potting mix. And yeah, so again, hit that like and subscribe button if you like this content. If you're in the Nashville area and you're growing and you want to see the season progress, or you live in the South at all, or it doesn't even matter. If you just want to watch the garden grow, we'd love to have you on our channel. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the like button. It would really help us out. Drop a comment below what you're growing in your garden in Tennessee. I'd love to hear about it. Also, not even in Tennessee. I just want to hear how your gardening season's going. Good talking with you guys. I hope you have a wonderful day.